It's Spoilerin time. This is the show where we take all the hard work we do on our other show, Cordkillers, where we figure out how to watch things or where to watch things or what to watch, and then we watch them and talk about them. This week we're going to be talking about Barry, season 3, episode 3, Better Call Saul, season 6, episode 3, Moon Knight, the finale of season 1, possibly season only, and Picard, season 2, episode 10, also the Picard finale. I'm Tom Merritt. He's Brian Brushwood.
Yeah, dude, basically this is like when your parents work really hard to earn money so they could put food on the table and ungrateful brats come in and they just go, I don't know, I don't like this one. Blah. And you're like, you have no idea how many millions of dollars and man hours it took to create it. And they're all like, yeah, but it looks weird. Blah. Why can't you be cool? I want kid cuisine. And then
this really explains the different approaches we have to the show, because my parents would not allow that sort of thing.
Well, I
did not
meanwhile,
dare criticize me.
Ironically, it's our job now is to say what we don't like.
Yeah, and responsibly so, at least, you know, as much as we can while maintaining an entertaining premise to the show. So come along for the ride with us, folks.
But where shall we begin, sir?
Picard, season 2, episode 10, the finale of season 2, the penultimate season of Picard, as we head off for a final season 3. This wrapped everything up and sent them back to the present. And this was, for me, Brian, an exercise in me enjoying the show, but not finding myself compelled and sometimes drifting. And this episode just slowly brought me back. I started the episode still kind of like, okay, so we've got to like do that thing and figure out the stuff, and he's got to resolve the conflict with her and where she came from, and then we got to get the lady on the space. So we're in space again. Oh, that's nice. And then I just slowly got more interested. As Q made his impassioned response where he finally answered Picard, which risky to give an answer to that. I kind of like the way they ended TNG, where he never answered it and said the journey never ends. But given the fact that he had an answer, I thought it was an interesting answer. And then we're back in space, and we're back with the Borg fighting the Borg, but no, we're not fighting the Borg, because now it's Agnes, and it turns out that the Borg, the alliance you never thought could happen, which is always what Star Trek does, finally happens. You never thought the Klingons and the humans would ally. Now you never thought the Borg would ally. And it set up a very big question of who is behind that big anomaly, which I'm very interested in finding out in season 3. Okay.
In reverse order. I'm going to start off the most jaded I can be and then get less jaded from there. Are you curious what made the big old
yes
tootie butt in space?
I am very curious. Why?
There's a tootie butt in space.
Why do you doubt my sincerity on that point?
Because I respect you as a rational thinking human being. And with no context, a giant space toot doesn't seem like it would be the most engaging thing on the planet.
Well, I disagree, but it's not a thing I can prove, so I'm not sure where to go with that.
Also, I said on the planet, and clearly it's in the entire quadrant.
Maybe you weren't noticing. It was in space,
yes,
Brian.
Okay, my fault. So this whole series, boy, what a wild ride. Let's start with this. A/B testing. Picard season 1 or Picard season 2?
Overall, season 1 for me.
Really?
Yeah.
I would say the first 3 episodes of season 1, but then the rest, not so much. Season 2, at least knew it was a dance party remix of everything you've seen in everything of Star Trek. And I absolutely will listen to any argument of why that's not great. I largely enjoyed it. The only times I didn't enjoy season 2 was when it felt a little bit heavy-handed or hammering on one thing too much. But as we've gotten a couple of emails that have suggested that it's probably the binging versus week over week experience. If I had binged it, I probably wouldn't have been preoccupied on the ICE immigration experience and so on. Probably wouldn't have been. I only live in the timeline where I did this week over week. And as a result, this episode felt like a full hour of a sunset that somehow never quite set. And a sunset is beautiful and it's wonderful because it makes you think about everything that happened during the day. But at some point you're like, are you gonna go below the horizon? Are you gonna set?
I felt like we got that at the very end. It took a long time, but I felt like that the season wrapped when he returned to the ship, and we pick up from the moment he left, and the actions of the season had consequences in that moment that didn't immediately disqualify the previous actions up to that point. And I like that. And yeah, I am curious what's behind that anomaly. That's kind of what Star Trek does. It's like it's an unexplained anomaly. It's a threat. We can read that, but we don't know what kind of a threat it is. But we can now partner with the Borg, who could tell us more about it, which they did. I'm not sure what you were missing or why you think I'm irrational for liking it.
No, I don't think you're irrational. I think you and I had the exact same experience. Only I had it, and I was like, well done, Picard. That was a fun remix, dance, mashup of every theme you've already done in all of Star Trek. And then they came back to the present, and I moved the mouse and realized I had 30 more minutes to go, and I thought, oh, dear. Because I rather love...
You set yourself up for like, I'm done, and the 30 minutes was not anything you wanted. That makes sense to me.
It was very little of what I wanted. It was a lot of battle stations. People do this, that, and
but for me, this entire season, I've been like, this is kind of interesting, but I want him back in space. This is kind of interesting. So when they got to that point, I was like, F yeah, we're back in space. All right, back in business. Here we go.
Right.
Now it's Star Trek again.
Well, and to be honest, and this may surprise you, I thought it was really sweet that Q just said, even gods have their favorites. I'm getting a little bit choked up thinking about it. And
very parental, right?
Yeah. It was from a narrative perspective. I understand loose ends. You want to tie them up. Let's bring Will Wheaton back for a scene, and let's have.
I did like. You know what? I forgot all about that. Yeah. It was great to have him back, and consistent with how he left the Next Generation. He's the traveler. He's just out bouncing around. That was fun.
Sure. Yes to both. Yes, it was good narratively to have one loose thread finally tied up and all that stuff. And I believed that he believed, like, oh, I don't make jokes anymore. I'm now truly boring. And that's why I carefully crafted what I said. But I didn't feel a lot outside of this vague feeling like, oh, this is a press release that will continue to have this female lead in future episodes.
Although that's how I was thinking about it until I realized that what he's doing for her character is what the Traveler did for Wesley, which spelled the end of Wesley on the Next Generation. And we never saw him again.
Correct. Real quick, couple minor quibbles. It's Dr. Soong's villain. Turns out that the guy who plays Data is really good at playing Pinocchio, and for my money, a little less good at playing a sinister mastermind of evil, because he sort of waltzes into NASA and it says, "Don't all my donations happen. All I have to do is shake a hand." Yeah. That's a neurotoxin.
But the things I guess we could not worry about infecting these guys. But yeah, that didn't really wash.
Correct. But all of the sunset bits actually did. I thought I was happy for Rios. I thought the Seven and Vape Girl thing was sort of out of nowhere. There wasn't a lot setting that up.
They've been setting that up all season. No, you didn't see that coming?
Maybe I was distracted, hoping there was some other context. I don't know. That's neither here nor there.
Also, the Rios thing, I loved, despite the fact that it made no sense that they were like, we cannot disrupt the timeline. Oh, but you really love her, so okay, we could disrupt the timeline. It's fine.
I mean, look, if you're gonna go, if everything is gonna be made out of rubber for a brief minute, and
exactly.
this is what I love about Lower Decks is Lower Decks has an easier time of making everything out of rubber because it's a cartoon.
Yeah.
Picard is trying to play the same game, but it's harder because it's real time and very expensive and all of that stuff. So if you're going to make everything of rubber, where Qs are good, Borgs are good, everyone's good, everyone's happy, everyone dead is alive again, all that stuff, that's fine. That's fine. All of which is to say, this particular episode, I rather like the second season much more than the first. Partly because they just admitted, hey, everything's made of rubber. We're just doing remixes. It'll be fun. There's not going to be, there will be virtually no elements from this season that are unique and original to this season. Everything will be borrowed from something else. I was in.
Yep.
It took a bit long on the sun setting, and then there was, to my taste, the slightly laborious setting up of a conflict or whatever. But weirdly, I think this last episode, I mean, top 2 or 3 of the whole season, top 2 or 3 of the whole series, to be honest.
Yeah, I'll agree with you on that. I think it landed in the top 5 at the very least for me as well. Maybe top 3. There are only 20 after all, so yeah.
So, okay, I can't believe I'm gonna ask this. Are we in for season 3 of Picard?
I definitely am. It sounds like you're the feds because it's.
What's the other like old school Trek that's out now?
Strange New Worlds.
Like I would rather jump over to that.
Did you watch it?
No.
It's so good.
Right? Okay. Sell me. Can you sell me?
It's everything. Yeah. This is non-spoilery. If you're like, wait a minute, I came here to be spoiled on Picard, not Strange New Worlds. It is. They took the original premise of the original series and said, we're just going to have adventures, 5-year mission, explore strange new worlds. We're not going to have too much of an overarching storyline. We'll have a little bit of a thread running through stuff, which even the original series did. But we're just going to explore strange new worlds, except we're going to do it with a modern sense of storytelling, modern production values. And it was just great. I felt super fulfilled by it by the end. So if you just want space adventures, but told now, not told in the 60s, that you have to go like, well, I can tell that's a cardboard box, but okay, I'll look past that. Yeah. Strange New Worlds, man. So good.
So are they doing week over week or everything all at once, or what do they do with that?
It's well, every week an episode, and each episode is a self-contained storyline.
Okay. Well, that's probably an after talk segment we should talk about because I think your excitement has ignited excitement in me.
All right. We will talk about it more in after talk. But we will see if Brian is on board for Picard season 3 next year.
I can't not.
But
yes, you
now,
can.
that is Picard season 2 in the books. All right, let's talk about Moon Knight, also a season finale. They say they will definitely bring back Moon Knight characters, but they don't know if it'll be a Disney Plus series, whether it'll be its own movie, whether it'll just be appearances in other movies. They're being very cagey about that, but they certainly left us with the idea that there's more Moon Knight story to tell. And I'll be honest, Brian, after watching this episode, which was my favorite of the 6, I was convinced this should have just been a movie.
Yeah, dude, it was a fantastic season premiere for the first season of Moon Knight. And I wish they had played it at the beginning.
Yeah, I feel like you could have collapsed the other 5 episodes into a shorter preamble to this, and you could have had a nice, hour and a half, 2-hour movie.
Bryce, did
you don't like a 6-hour origin story?
Well, Look, I don't know what kind of budget they got. I don't know what kind of constraints they had. I don't know, pandemic, something. But I will say that, wow, if I was able to just see this as the first episode, I'd be all in. And I'm sad that we live in the timeline where this was the last episode, probably ever, of it.
I mean, it's a real shame because it feels like they probably had a so-so movie script that was maybe a little long, and then they said, well, it's Oscar Isaac. We've got to do something better than this. And then they made it a TV show. Maybe.
Well,
I feel like we killed an Egyptian god.
Tell me if you guys agree with this. This was far and away my favorite episode of Moon Knight.
Yeah, I think it's one of the best ones.
Okay.
I would say yes for me.
Can you imagine? I don't know. Maybe like to be honest, this is gonna get me in trouble. But like, if you had started with something like this, all condensed into a 2-hour launch movie, and told me it was Marvel's take on American Gods, I would have been blown away, and I would have pre-subscribed for 7 seasons. But I'm just assuming budgets and all that.
I hope so. I mean, it looked like there's a lot of visual effects and a lot of CG and stuff. I mean, that's not cheap, but the rest of it did.
There's also, I wonder, I don't think this played a part, but there is, of course, pandemic consideration too.
Right.
If they did want to make this a movie at some point in the past 2 years, they probably wouldn't have. They, I think this always started as a TV show, but if at any point during that they're like, this would make a better movie, then someone would have said like, yeah, but there's nobody going into theaters these days, so we need to make it a TV show for now.
Yeah, I guess that's true. I mean, I probably wouldn't have gone to a theater to watch this 6 weeks ago.
I did see one email that came in from one of our bosses saying that they weren't into the giant kaiju thing. I, for one, kind of adored the 2 avatars fighting on the ground, 2 giant kaijus, pretty much mimicking their moves above them. There was a lot about that I liked. I also liked the, third gravitational body of crazy hippo death goddess.
Yeah.
Solves the riddle of what avatars Layla is going to have. I mean, I was a bit bummed that I liked it so much by the end of the last episode.
Yeah. No, I know what you mean. It was bittersweet to be like, oh, finally, really unequivocally enjoyed that.
Yeah.
You were here the whole time. Aw.
Yeah. And a third personality. I was almost... the pinnacle of it almost was the post-credit scene or the mid-credit scene.
Yeah.
The fact that they didn't put that in, they should have just had that in the thing. That shouldn't have even been a post-credits thing. That should have been in the actual story. Because if you missed it, you would have been incredibly frustrated.
Yes, and in an alternate timeline, Brian was very, very pissed. But this timeline, luckily, I knew I bet they'd do a post-credits thing. And I was like, oh yeah, they did set up this mystery of a third very powerful force.
Mystery. Or whoever's in you. All right.
All right. Any other thoughts on Moon Knight?
No. Outside of, boy, what a rocky ride. I think it landed strong, strong enough, but I'm still, yeah.
I feel like it's an origin story, and we didn't get a lot of origin. I don't understand why his superpower is DID.
Story. That's the thing. All the origin was told in exposition and flashback.
I guess so, but then like the merging of the personas into the singular Moon Knight.
I will say this. I actually like that. That was a brief 7 minutes where I was like, all right, this is pretty dope.
This is the dynamic.
2 halves of the same person working together in tandem, knowing when to hand things off to the other. Imagine taking on,
cool.
2 twin ninjas that are
now, what if that happened 5 hours earlier?
Bing, bing, bing. Yes. It's a genuinely amazing place that you get to, but I don't know that it was quite worth the cost of admission.
That is Moon Knight, Season 1, Episode 6, the season finale. All right, let's talk about Better Call Saul, season 6, episode 3. Brian, where are you with this so far?
Oh my God.
Now that we're out of the gates.
I'm in my happy place because we've talked about 2 series that I've had a hard time sticking with. And last night I told Bonnie, I was like, hey, finished up job number 1, job number 2. Job number 3 is a joy. You want to join me? And Bonnie is like a rock skipping across the ocean of Better Call Saul and Breaking Bad stuff. And my God, are they good at telling very simple stories that you immediately get your hooks into. Bonnie had not seen the last 2 episodes, so I was able to say, anyway, Nacho's dead, but this friction remains. You're pretty much caught up. And she had zero trouble dialing in instantly to everything that was happening. They're continuing to gaslight. We see Saul doing Saul stuff. We see it was great. By the way, did you notice that this episode was directed by
Rhea Seehorn?
Rhea Seehorn? Seehorn. Kim Wexler. It's great. It's great. Tom, I think the show's great.
I had the beautiful experience of my wife having caught up on Better Call Saul Sunday night, and therefore on Monday saying, "Want to watch Better Call Saul?" And me going, "Absolutely yes." And so she was showing, different perspectives on things because she had just watched the entire run over the past month. But yeah, that the whole scenario where he hires someone to get in a fight with Kim, gets Maine to meet her and actually goes for her pitch, which she's like, oh, I guess bonus gravy. He went for the pitch. That's cool. And you see that the fake tanned Jimmy McGill pretending to be
astonishingly good looking as Hamlin.
Right?
So close. Like amazing.
That whole scenario, which played out, should have been boring. As long as they spent on it, was riveting. Right up to the to the point where it's like, there's no way he's gonna think that's what's his face,
Hamlin.
Yeah, Howard Hamlin. And it's like, no, I can totally see that getting pulled off. Yeah, and going to such lengths just to sow doubt.
Also, classic Vince Gilligan storytelling. It's a self-contained mystery because it begins with whoever these nosy neighbors are that are judging everybody for their
right,
houses.
That whole situation with Gus.
That's right. And then you see them come home to a place where there are bodyguards with automatic weapons and whatnot.
Oh, that must be the cops. That must be the DEA, right?
It's none of those.
And they're walking around like they don't exist, but then they're offering them tea, like. Oh, so
like
cool.
and then at the end you get that reveal where it's like, oh yeah, no, Gus, he's very, very meticulous. And in fact, we even get a shadow of that beforehand. We get foreshadowing, and like all good magic tricks, they present the answer right to us and we don't see it. That moment that Kim Wexler is talking to Mike Ehrmantraut and he's like, yeah, they're following you. It's about an unrelated thing. And she says, Lalo Salamanca's dead. And there's something in the way Mike Ehrmantraut looks or doesn't look or reacts or doesn't react.
Subtle. It's so good.
It's so good. And then meanwhile, like we have fully realized the moment that Saul Goodman may be forever portrayed by Jimmy McGill, but the person is clearly Kim Wexler, and it's amazing.
Yeah. I in that scene, Eileen and I think it was Eileen who said it first, like, and I was thinking it, she's like, but doesn't she know him from the parking garage? And like a half second later, she goes, wait, aren't you the guy from the parking garage? I was like, I
went back and like looped it back because in the very lower right hand and left hand corner of the screen or whatever, you see her hands do this kind of what? Gesture, just the slightest hint, as subtle as Mike Ehrmantraut reacting to Lalo Salamanca being dead, just the slightest, like what? And then it's like it's chef's kiss, perfect.
What about Jimmy's ruined reputation? He is persona non grata at the courthouse now.
Yeah, we're seeing bravado from him, but I think Kim saw it or Kim, very much knows what's up. That was also one of my favorite moments because I was watching it with Bonnie. And keep in mind, this is coming from somebody who was driving past 7 acres of haunted property and thought it would make a good place to build a studio. That moment that Kim and Saul are looking at this strip mall location, and she was like, whole place smells like pee. This is wrong. That's wrong. Nah, it's 5 blocks from here, 3 blocks from here. Just promise me you won't move the toilet. And then credits roll, and I say to Bonnie, I think you're my Kim Wexler. And she says, I'm glad you're finally admitting it.
Which is such a Kim Wexler thing to say.
It was great. It was great.
Yeah. That was fun, obviously, because we know what that place looks like later, right? And so it was fun to see the origin story. But even more so was, I know better. Okay, I know better. I've seen Breaking Bad. When he is persona non grata at the courthouse, I am feeling it. I'm like, oh, poor Jimmy. How is he going to get this back? And the answer that Jimmy slaps me in the face says, I don't, and I won't need to, because look at all these people lining up. I'm Lalo's guy. I'm made. I've got rivers of money forever. It doesn't matter if I'm persona non grata. That's not how I'll do business now. And I will turn on a dime and rake in this cash. I'm like, oh, right. Yeah, you're Saul Goodman. I had almost forgotten.
This might be one of my, I don't know. It's certainly my favorite episode of this season so far. Yeah. I don't know. I believe it. It's great. It's delightful and
trick
beautiful.
Alone would have been one of my favorite moments of this, when we were like, oh, that's Gus's place. Because we're like, but the FBI, they're right next door. Like, the DEA, they're going to oh, no, they're his people. Okay.
Well, and again, this is the beauty of the show is big world, small world. Big world, we got Gus and his armed guards and hired hands pretending to be nosy busybodies around the neighborhood. Small world, it comes down to Jimmy McGill with a fake tan trying to look like Hamlin, realizing that he has to move the parking sign over or he's screwed. And that tiny tension and drama is chef's kiss. It's so great.
We were parking somewhere and there was a cone, and I was like, who moves a cone?
One last moment. One of my favorite moments is when Gus is running things down to Mike, and he's like, you told me you had short order cook experience, 2 years at McDonald's. Pause. He doesn't meet Pollo standards.
Gus is a perfectionist in everything.
It's so good.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, and going back to that example of the two people who are complaining about, the neighborhood stuff, and then are absolutely 100% complicit in Gus's employees, like, that's the depth he gives people, because when you're in a routine like that and you have to keep up your external appearances, you get caught up in it. I totally believe that would happen.
Yeah.
So good. So good. That is Better Call Saul, season 6, episode 4, although it's only the 3rd week. It's one of those weird things where the first 2 episodes were shown as one episode when they aired. You will find them listed separately on IMDb. So it is a weird split, but that's where we are with Better Call Saul. Let's talk about Barry season 3, episode 3.
Yep.
So here's my problem with Barry. Barry's first couple of seasons, it was ridiculous. The fun was this guy who was a hitman, a lethal hitman, was trying to make it as a struggling actor. It's not as fun when the story is entirely serious, when everything is real and has consequences, and he's actually getting parts. It no longer has the absurdity to it.
That is a really astute analysis, because season 1 worked immediately because you had the dichotomy of an unstoppable killing machine, James Bond in robot form, the Terminator, fused with a person who didn't know his place in life, of all places, goes to the most ridiculous place, an acting workshop in LA. Hijinks ensue, but season 3, and again, we can call a mulligan on pandemic or what have you, but for the life of me, this is a totally joyless dead experience for me. I find every character's situation deeply unpleasant. I can't find one character who's having a good time, including NoHo Hank, who you would think if there's one person who can have a good time, it would be NoHo Hank. But Fuchs is now, he had a brief moment of joy of being a goat tender, and now he wants to be a Jaguar killing machine maker. You have Barry, who acts like he's happy, but is clearly not. You have Kusino, who's not happy. You have all of the Chechens who are not happy. You have Cristobal, who's scared out of his mind. You have Barry's girlfriend, who's running a show and becoming disillusioned. You've got Barry's girlfriend's scared daughter on the show. There's literally nobody having fun on the show, including me.
Yeah. And it's not that I'm not invested in the world. It's that I invested in the absurdity and the fun of it. And the closest you had in this episode was Fuchs saying, no, I like the goats. And I was cheering for him not to change his mind. I was like, no, dude, do that. Stay with the goats. That would be amazing. Let's just check in on Fuchs with the goats a few times and have hilarious, like, people showing up trying to convince him, like, I'll buy all your goats. Like, nope. But no, we didn't get that. And then the next closest thing is NoHo Hank, kind of playing it off. Oh, it's pretty crazy that we were gone on that bus tour, but we barely even made anything out of that. So it was such a brief moment that it almost didn't work.
I'm desperately seeking an anchor. Now here's, let me take the counter side of the argument. They know what they're doing on this show.
Yes, they do.
And I would like to believe that if they're going to spend the third episode of season 3 from beginning to end, there is not one person I like or who is happy. I don't have an answer for this, Tom, but let's present this as a closed room mystery. Why might they be doing this on purpose in a very successful HBO show?
My guess would be they want to do a reverse funnel, right? They know that we went like ridiculous to tension in the first 2 seasons, and they know we're on to that. And so even if that's what we say we want, we might get bored and be like, yeah, this is fun, but it's kind of the same note again. So maybe what they're doing is starting with the tension, and they're going to loosen it up and have a ridiculous finale to it. I'm not saying that's what they're doing. That's the first thing that came to my mind when you presented that question.
And my counter to, I understand where you're coming from, but my counter would be, are we feeling tension? Who are we worried about dying?
Well, we're feeling nothing but tension.
I mean, if Kusino died, would you be freaked out next episode?
Well, no, but there's tension around that. It's not, would I be surprised?
There's sadness.
Is there tension of, will he kill him or not? Is there tension around, is Barry and his girlfriend going to come to blows? Is there going to be an explosion there? Is she going to have a successful TV show? You may not like these storylines, but there's tension in them. That's all there is. There is not relaxation. There is no storyline that's like, oh, this one's on autopilot and really fun. Like, everything is stakes. The stakes may not be big enough for you. That's certainly an arguable thing, but it's all like, life or death, career or not, caught by the Venezuelans or not. Like, everything is just trying to build tension.
Okay. So if there's a dichotomy that we experienced before, it was harshness, sharp edge versus soft edge. And maybe season 3 is tension versus apathy. Like, I mean it. I can't think of a single character that I care about whether they live or die at this point.
Like, I guess Fuchs comes back and teams up with Kusino. Is that absurd enough?
It would be fun in that I would care about Kusino again, because if right now where I'm at in episode 3, is, and yes, it was indicated when he didn't read his line, but it was stated but not felt by me that that's the way you redeem it. Because if Kusuno can't be bothered to care about Kusuno, why should I? And that's what I've gotten for 3 episodes now.
Oh gosh, no, yeah, I care about Kusuno, and I think Kusuno does care about Kusuno. I have not gotten that at all, but I have gotten the sort of like, yeah, I know he's in danger. What's fun about this? There's no hilarious like, will he discover? It's like, no, he is clearly in danger of his life and knows it, and cannot figure out how to navigate this situation, and wants nothing but Barry to die.
Okay, now
God.
if we're speculating, I think I could be brought around very, very quickly in the first 5 minutes of episode 4.
Yeah.
Fuchs shows up, immediately meets Kusuno.
Mhm.
Kusuno says, I want to kill Barry. I don't know what I'm doing. Now the stars of the show are Kusuno and Fuchs.
And now it's a turnabout,
Right.
where instead of Barry and Fuchs, and Barry's trying to escape into acting, it's Kusuno and Kusuno trying to escape from acting.
Or Kusuno and Fuchs, Kusuno as the rookie and Fuchs as the as the exasperated pro. That can all happen. I'm just surprised they went a whole episode without, to the best of my watching, and I gave it my full attention. They didn't hand me any handholds during this episode.
Yeah, I felt like what they were trying to do was show that Barry believes in his plan, and thinks he can use his muscle to carry it out, but that the muscle does not work in this situation the way it does in the Hitman world, and so he has miscalculated Kusuno. You also get this kind of the same thing with NoHo Hank, which is he thought he could count on his lover, but he can't. And so now he's in trouble. And if anything's absurd, it's the mild absurdity of, oh, we have to move up your premiere because there's another show like yours. But that's not the kind of absurdity that can carry Barry.
The actress that plays the daughter of Barry's girlfriends, I should really learn all the characters' names, which says a little something about the show, or about me. But she very clearly has this realization, like, oh, Barry's a bad guy. I should be against Barry. So if I was to guess, I think we see an alignment of Kusuno, Fuchs, and daughter actress, all like working as a team against Barry. While Barry,
I think I looked it up. Her name's Lindsay. Daughter actress is Lindsay.
Okay.
I think Lindsay is an unwitting partner in this because she believes that Barry needs to be stopped. She's obviously afraid because she fakes that answer about Barry, and I think she gets manipulated, and there's potential for absurdity there in why she's doing it and what she thinks she's doing versus what she's really doing. Fuchs could play her like a puppet, and I kind of hope that's the direction they go with that.
Ooh,
Fair.
hold on, side jag. What if? Okay, Barry's is a journey from talented killer to talented actor.
Mm-hmm.
Hers is a journey from talented actor to talented killer.
I don't like that as much as Kusuno, which was never talented, I guess, by all accounts.
Oh, what if? Oh, wow. Hold on. What if? Well, unfortunately, they already portrayed Kusuno as inept, even with like a 6-shooter or whatever. But that would be fun if like that was his true gift his whole life long, and we got to see it.
He's inept because of inexperience. What if if he gets the experience in the training, he might be.
In that case, if that's where we go, great. I'm thrilled. Probably could have done without episode 3. Probably could have skipped straight from episode 2 to episode 4.
I did, and the episode is named after it. I did love the moment when they show the junkets. Yeah, and especially because I could turn to Eileen, who literally works on those junkets for Rotten Tomatoes quite often, and just watch her like snicker, like, yep. That's slight exaggeration, but not too far off. And I loved when they had Sally like, the off the wall, who should play Spider-Man? Which they do. They do that. They ask these unrelated questions because they need them for other stuff. And Sally going, Ben Mendelsohn was great. Love that.
It also taps into, and we've talked about this before, I have an unfair prejudice against, Hollywood navel gazing, and which I tolerated in the acting class, but I was not thrilled to see back.
Oh, really? You didn't like that? Because they're making fun of it, and it's too navel gazy for you.
No. I was like, yep, that's exactly how stupid that is. And then after the first 10 seconds, I was like, oh, they're gonna make me watch it 5 more times, and then they did, and I'm like, okay.
Yeah. Ben Mendelsohn though. Good. All right, that is Barry season 3, episode 3. That is it for us this week. We're back to our normal 3 next week. Better Call Saul. The next episode, season 6, episode 5, 4th week, episode 5. Barry, season 3, episode 4. And our new addition, now that Moon Knight and Picard have gone, is Hacks. The first 2 episodes will be released by HBO Max. So we'll be doing Hacks, season 2, episode 1 and 2.
Tom,
that is it for us.
Look, if there's one, like I was all set. As you were talking just now, I was like, oh, when do we get back to Miami Vice? And then you said Hacks. I was like, yeah, that's all right. I'm cool with Hacks.
Yeah. No, I'm hoping I'm not disappointed by this because I really like season 1. That is it for us. We will spoil you next time. Don't move for a week.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.